I'm Noelani Cornell. I'm the program director of the Creative Writing Bachelor of Fine Arts and Master of Fine Arts here at Full Sail University. I've been here almost 7 years, and I was here when both programs launched in 2009 and 2010. My educational background is, I don't want to say it is classical education, but it is. I have graduate and undergraduate degrees in literature, and so I've been studying story for probably 30 years now. I attended the University of Central Florida for both degrees, and after I graduated, I taught, and so I taught literature for probably about 15 years. Before I came here to Full Sail. The hero's journey is really all-encompassing. It is a part of almost every culture, every society. Societies and cultures that aren't even aware of what it is. It's there in their literature and in oral traditions. Campbell didn't. I guess he was the one who brought all of the pieces together, and because Campbell's background is anthropology, and so he studied. That was his passion. He studied, world societies, and he was fascinated with world religions. And I think he was in the 40s that he brought all these ideas together, and he started noticing patterns, throughout different cultures throughout the world. And he wrote, I just went blank. He wrote The Thousand Faces, and in this, and he originally based it on James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake. But then he started noticing that there's so many other writings where this is present. The common world, it's usually, and I'm probably going to be using a lot of media, characters, just because we see this a lot. One thing I usually mention whenever I'm doing the open house for the creative writing, behind the scenes, is because it's the hero's journey, or it's called the monomyth. You can use those two interchangeably, but we do see the same characters that arise again and again, and probably the most studied is the Star Wars, and so you have someone who's coming from a very humble means. And so you see like Luke Skywalker doing that, but you also see this is also Harry Potter, and this is also Neo from The Matrix. And I'm not saying that it's a myth by any means, but you also see this in the story of Jesus as well. Yeah. The call to adventure is just exactly that. It's our hero gets noticed somehow that he or she is needed, and he or she is the only one who is able to save the day. So it's pretty much just that. The refusal of the call is always, it could be for either the hero is thinking, it can't possibly be me. I'm just this, this poor kid from Tatooine, with no parents. It can't be me. I can't be the one. Or in Harry Potter's case, I'm just this kid again with no parents, who lives underneath the stairs, and I have a miserable life. So, so it can't be me. Meeting with the mentor is always a very pivotal point with this character, because then it's when you start hearing the trouble music, or not really the trouble music, but you hear serious music, and then you just realize, aha, the character has a realization, okay, there may be something more to this. And it's a very transformative moment, because you're realizing that what was originally thought to be just a fantastical, call or idea, that there may be some validity to it. And so the character starts thinking, okay, there may be something to this, and maybe this person can help me, achieve it. The greatest journey always starts with the first step. It is in thinking about once the actual first step is made, then you know there is no going back. But it's just everything. It's a complete internal struggle that the character goes through to even fathom the idea of taking that first step. So once the first step is made, then you know the journey has begun. So that's why it's so important. There will be different trials and tribulations. There will be, you know, the goal is identified, but it just seems so far away. It seems so unattainable. And that's what makes for great action, though, is, you know, it is identifying, you know, what the goal is. And, you know, you think of Lord of the Rings, too. It has to get there. You know, Frodo has to get there. And you just think that he's just, you know, just a simple little hobbit, and you know, and look at these terrifying orcs, and you know, look how far away, you know, the mountain is. So how is it going to happen? So I mean, that's basically that's the exciting part about it. Mm-hmm. Entering in the dark cave, that's when you think that, okay, this is as serious as it is going to get. This is where it's possible that the hero may not make it. You know, and going in, and even though you know that ultimately he or she will triumph, this is where, you know, there's serious concern that, you know, that maybe the, you know, the hero will be overcome. Facing the enemy, and this is where, I mean, it all comes down to this, you know, when Luke faces Vader, right? You know, and this is it, and it's like, and this is the obstacle, the major obstacle in the way of the goal, and so it is a huge and pivotal moment. And it's just that it is actually reaching the goal. And I don't know how else to explain it other than that. It is just saying, okay, after all this journey, it's like, okay, I'm here. I've crossed the finish line. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The path going back is one that there is relief. There is a feeling of accomplishment and of triumph, but many times on the way, on the path back, there is a realization of some loss. You know, the helper was killed. You know, when Obi-Wan was taken down, you know, by Darth Vader, or when Yoda died. Yeah, there is a sense of loss in returning to there. It is just that, and we're seeing this, and that sometimes you feel that okay, the goal is achieved, but then what? You know, it's more than just that. It has to be a gateway to a new way of life, or a new understanding, or it could be you know, that. You know, that the dark force was defeated, the emperor was killed, you know, the Death Star was destroyed. And so it's getting rid of the bad and saying, okay, we have at us the beginning of the new world, and there's hope that comes with this. It is just that. It is the return of the hero. And that may be the case in corporeal form. It may look like the hero, but the hero has been transformed in a way that the person who left on the journey is not the same person or the same hero who returned, because of enlightenment, you know, because of, you know, that there was a resurrection of his or her, you know, being itself. Archetypes are they are characters that we see throughout throughout story, throughout civilization. We again, in referring back to the open house that I do with our creative writing students, you know, I always mention that it's important. I want our students to study the classics because I want them to know that they can find Batman in Aristotle. You know, and that usually gets, you know, students who are convinced that modern cinema started with Tarantino, you know, you know, so it's those, and but what that means is by having the same characters appear again and again, this means that we have the same struggles, that our struggles, our triumphs are universal. And so you may have a character, you know, that from, you know, a piece that was written 400 years ago who, you know, to looking at a stereotype, who may hate his mother-in-law. Okay, but then you can see the same character, you know, in present day in a situation who has the same struggles. You know, their lives are very different, you know, because they're hundreds of years apart, but because the struggles and the challenges that they share, you know, it really is, you can say that it is, you know, it is the same person. And so that archetype, you know, the universal character that you see again and again is just, it always resonates. It's very important in game design to understand the hero's journey because there's, you know, regardless of if it's a first-person shooter, a third-person shooter, if the game is going to be more about gameplay as opposed to being, you know, propelled by story, there are still still certain things that all characters are tasked with doing, whether it is slaying the dragon, you know, whether it is discovering, you know, solving the mystery of who killed this particular person, but there is a progression, you know, that the stories follow, and we see this very clearly in games. I think from a game designer's perspective, and I'm speaking only from the story side, not the programming and game side, but it's important for the designer to know the world of the game. And they need to know the rules that lie within that world. Because when they're building a game, they're building a world. And you know, and there has to be some semblance of order, or at least an understanding of the rules and the guidelines. And if you know how that world functions, then it will be easier to craft your story and build your characters so that they can abide by the established guidelines that you're creating in this game. You know, I don't know if there is one way to build a story. You know, some people will just start around a single idea. You know, they may focus in, you know, on a character's superhero talent, you know, and then build a world around that. Or you may be concentrating on a fantasy, you know, a perfect world, a utopia, you know, that he or she would, you know, would like to, you know, where everyone would like to live, and then you can build a story backwards on that. I think it's those who are designing, they have to decide. You know, there has to be, you know, a semblance of an idea for a game, for a story, for a journey. And I think once that is decided, then you just start building from there. And some people may build outward all at once or in a linear fashion. You know, it's just, you just have to make sure that all of the different components are cohesive. The skill set, you need to be well read. You know, you need to, those who are the best storytellers are those who always have books in their hands. You know, and it's just because, and the reason that is because in order to create story, you need to be proficient with story. You need to know what has come before you, and that, you know, probably the authors that you admire, you know, they say that those people are standing on the shoulders of giants. So you need to know who the giants are, you know, so that you know what your foundation is and where you're going, where you're taking it, because that's what modern day storytellers are. They're taking it to the next step. You know, because it's very true when they say that, you know, there is nothing new under the sun. I'm very biased because I'm coming from the, you know, creative writing for entertainment world. The games that I play and the games that I will play with my children are those that are story driven. Just because it's, and maybe this is my age, but I'm not very good at using a controller. But those that are really engaging to me and those that will actually bring my mom in to watch us playing are those that are story driven. Because if you can create a game and create characters that people love or hate, or a plot that is compelling enough to bring my 82-year-old mom into the living room to watch, then I think you've done a really good job as a storyteller. Yeah. I am not a gamer per se. I grew up in the era of Pac-Man, and there was those. None of those games had story. Well, yes, this is going to rile people up. I know people say that there really is a story with Pac-Man, but it was nothing that was engaging enough, you know, to bring me back again and again. So when I grew up, the games were only about gameplay. You know, it was about progressing from level to level to level, and there was no story. The ones that have really caught my attention and have really made me enjoy gaming are things like Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls. My son just completed. I'm a really bad mother for letting my son complete this, but he did The Last of Us, and I thought The Last of Us was phenomenal. You know, when I could walk over and just feel his chest and just feel his heart pounding, and, you know, just being right there, I was just like, gosh, storytelling doesn't get any better than this. Well, from what I've gotten from speaking with game designers is um, it's all a part of a team. And so you can't say, you know, here's a story, build a game around it. You know, and you can't say, here's the gameplay that we're wanting to execute, build a story around that. You know, so you have two sometimes teams that are somewhat polarized. So it's all about creating your story, creating the gameplay, and then both sides compromising. You know, because it's possible that this part of the story may not be able to be executed in the gameplay, and vice versa. So it's just going into the project with a team mentality and understanding that you have a common goal of creating a great game and not only staying true to your story. So the best advice that I can give if you're interested in going into the game design industry, it's the first is it has nothing to do with gaming. Is be always exceed expectations. If you're tasked to be at work at 9, be there at 8:45. You know, be fully prepared, be well rested. If you're expected to have completed a task, you know, before then, make sure that it's done. If you're asked to complete a task, always do it ahead of schedule. Understand that in the world of games, it is all about teamwork and it is about collaborating. And so it's completing your job and making the jobs of those in your group as easy as possible. And so just remember that it's all about being part of a team. So doing your part is essential.